Hey everyone, I'm Stratabean and welcome to my first video. Today we're going to talk about a deck I made based on one of the new precon commanders from the new set Edge of Eternities, Inspirit Flagship Vessel. Inspirit Flagship Vessel is a legendary spacecraft that costs 3 mana and Jeskai, and its effects are: Station, tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power onto the spacecraft. Station only as a sorcery, it's an artifact creature at 8+. 1+. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or 2 charge counters on up to one other target artifact. At station 8+, it becomes a 5/5 artifact creature with flying with the ability other artifacts you control have hexproof and indestructible. This deck doesn't win through brute force, it wins by slowly gaining control over every axis of the game, drawing cards at instant speed, untapping your board every turn, and eventually locking the table out with infinite turns, building charge counters, or inflicting burn damage on everyone. It's part combo deck, part control deck, and part mad science experiment that'll surely charge your way to victory. Let's get into it. Overview. In this deck, Inspirit wants to do 3 things. 1. Accumulate value from charge counters and activate abilities. 2. Proliferate and untap your artifact engine repeatedly. And 3. Convert that advantage into a game-ending combo or overwhelming board state. Unlike typical artifact decks that lean heavily into aggro or infinite loops off treasure tokens, this one plays more like a combo control deck. You're not looking to rush a win, you're looking to scale, synergize, and out-resource the table. Inspirit's ability, giving charge counters to non-creature artifacts and +1/+1 counters to creatures, means you could start infinite combos with cards such as Magistrate Scepter, you put more counters on Darksteel Reactor, or deal extra damage with All Will Be One. Core synergies. There are 3 main synergies in this deck, and they are counter synergies, proliferation synergies, and untap synergies. Your counter synergies are Core Tapper, which gives your artifacts a charge counter with its tap ability, or gives 2 if you sacrifice it. Energy Chamber gives a +1/+1 counter or a charge counter at your upkeep. Resourceful Defense moves counters to other permanents, so you don't worry about losing counters if your stuff gets destroyed. And Filigree Vector, which gives a +1/+1 to each of your target creatures and a charge counter to your non-creature artifacts when it enters. You can also use its tap ability for 1 generic mana to sacrifice an artifact to proliferate, giving you more counters. Additionally, both Filigree Vector and Resourceful Defense synergize with All Will Be One, as with Resourceful Defense, moving counters counts as adding them to a permanent, dealing a lot of damage to a target, and with Filigree Vector, its ETB effect and tap ability will give multiple counters and trigger All Will Be One multiple times. 3 specific targets you should add charge counters to are Lux Cannon, Magistrate Scepter, and Darksteel Reactor. Lux Cannon for destroying cards you don't want on your opponent's field, Magistrate Scepter for getting extra turns, and it's the most important card for your infinite combos, and Darksteel Reactor for an alternate win con. Your main proliferation synergies are Kilo Apogee Mine, Flux Channeler, Surge Conductor, and Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus. Kilo is your most consistent way of proliferating, as when it gets tapped, it proliferates, meaning you can use it to station a spacecraft or attack with it as it has haste, and you can use it right away. It also goes infinite with Freed from the Real. Flux Channeler and Surge Conductor, as the majority of this deck is non-creature spells and artifact spells, and Tekuthal, as it doubles your proliferation triggers. Your 2 main untapped synergies are Unwinding Clock and Clock of Omens. Unwinding Clock untaps your artifacts every turn, including your opponent's turn, and Clock of Omens if you need to untap a specific artifact right away. Combos. There are 2 main combos in this deck, one that gives you infinite turns and the other that ends the game. The main piece of the infinite turn combo is Magistrate Scepter, and you must have either Inspirit and Core Tapper or Kilo and Freed from the Real. For the game-ending combo, you need Dawnsire, Sunstar Dreadnought, and Pain for All. To pull off the Inspirit and Core Tapper combo, Inspirit must have at least 1 charge counter on it, and Core Tapper must not have Summoning Sickness. Step 1. At your first main phase, tap Core Tapper and put a charge counter on Magistrate Scepter. Step 2. Go to combat and use Inspirit's first ability to add 2 more charge counters on the Magistrate Scepter. Step 3. Use Magistrate Scepter's second ability, remove the 3 charge counters and take an extra turn, and repeat this every extra turn. For the Kilo and Freed from the Real combo, Freed from the Real must be first attached to Kilo, you must have at least 5 blue mana available every turn, and Magistrate Scepter must have at least 1 charge counter on it. Step 1. Use 1 blue mana to activate Freed from the Real's ability to tap Kilo. Step 2. Proliferate with Kilo's ability and add 1 charge counter onto Magistrate Scepter. Step 3. Repeat steps 1 and 2 again, getting 3 more charge counters onto Magistrate Scepter. Step 4. Use Magistrate Scepter's ability, taking an extra turn, and repeat this process. Alongside these two combos, if you have all OB1 on your board, you can deal damage to anything every time you gain counters, or if you have Darksteel Reactor, you can win the game by adding a charge counter to it at your upkeep, or with the proliferate triggers. For the game-ending combo, you need to have Dawnsire with at least 10 charge counters on it, at least one other creature on your field, and Pain for All attached to that creature. When you have Pain for All attached to one of your creatures, go to combat and attack with that creature. When you attack, the Dawnsire's first ability will trigger, dealing 100 damage to target creature. When this happens, target the creature that's attached with Pain for All. The creature will die, but due to the second ability of Pain for All, each of your opponents will also get dealt 100 damage, potentially killing them. Support and Control. For your tutors, you have Fabricate, Word of Invention, Enlightened Tutor, Inventor's Fair, and Tezzeret the Seeker. Fabricate and Inventor's Fair can search for artifacts and add them to your hand. With Enlightened Tutor, you're not only limited to just artifacts, you can also search enchantments at instant speed, although granted, you can only get them at the top of your deck. And Tezzeret the Seeker and Word of Invention get your artifacts onto the board, and with Tezzeret the Seeker, you can also untap any artifacts that you might need for later. For your removal pieces, you have Swords to Plowshares, Dispatch, and Chaos Warp. Dispatch and Swords to Plowshares can exile creatures, removing them from the rest of the game, and although Chaos Warp can't exile cards, it is not limited to only creatures, so you can target anything you don't want your opponents to have on their boards. For your board wipes, you have Cyclonic Rift and Organic Extinction. Although Cyclonic Rift has a very high overload cost, you can use it at any time, and Organic Extinction is effectively a one-sided board wipe as most of your creatures are artifact creatures. Your main draw engines are Giora, Weatherlight Captain, Vidalcan Archmage, and Insight Engine. Giora and Archmage will draw you cards every time you cast an artifact, and Insight Engine at the cost of 2 mana will add a charge counter to itself and draw you cards equal to the amount of charge counters on it, helping you with the goal of getting counters on your board as a result. And for your counter spells, you have Arcane Denial and Swansong. Piloting tips. In the early game, prioritize ramping with low-cost artifacts and lands to make sure that you can cast Inspirit by turn 3, and check that you have a low mana creature in your hand so you can station Inspirit when it hits the board. In the mid-game, have your draw engines on the board so you can get to your combo pieces early. And in the late game, get all of your combo pieces on the board and have at least one of these 3 cards on the board: All OB1, Lux Artillery, or Darksteel Reactor. All OB1 will deal damage every time you put a counter on a permanent. Lux Artillery will deal 10 damage at your end step if you have 30 or more counters among your artifacts and creatures, which you will most likely have by the end of the game. And Darksteel Reactor at your upkeep, if you have 20 or more counters, you just flat out win the game. And that's how I built around Inspirit Flagship Vessel. Whether you're charging up counters, blowing up threats off the board with Lux Cannon, or taking infinite turns while smiling smugly, Inspirit doesn't just win, it blasts off to victory. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments of what you think of this deck and which commander you'd like to see me build around next.